Well, I thought I'd take some time here to show you some of the stuff that I found while I was up in New Jersey digging. And I only picked out the interesting bottles. There was a lot more that I found, but I've already reviewed most of those. These here have a little bit more story to them. Most of them do anyway. So let's get right into it. When we're looking at whiskey, when I went up there, I was primarily going to look for whiskey bottles. And so I got just tied up in that concept. So I decided, well, I'm going to go to this dump and look for whiskey bottles. And I found quite a number of them. First, we'll start up with the Old Gaelic. This bottle is interesting because of the fact that it has a just because it has a non-refillable cap. This cap was put on during Prohibition times from 1919, maybe a little before that, all the way up until 1934, 35. Once the bottle was filled, this was put on. It could measure out, jigger of whiskey, and then that's it. And then after the bottle was done, well, you couldn't refill it. You'd ruin the bottle trying to get it off. So it was one of those style bottles. Now, Old Smugglers started way back in the 1880s in Scotland. Started by a guy, I forget what his name was, and they started shipping stuff here way back in the 1870s. So by the 1920s, what ended up happening is that they just shipped it to Canada, and of course from there it came to the United States. So this bottle probably was smuggled in during the 20s, because the dump I was in was pretty much mid-20s. And it's a real cool bottle. You can see it says Gaelic Old Smugglers, and it's unique because of its historic value, I guess. Then another bottle here is very interesting, and this bottle is a whiskey bottle, and it is a Prohibition bottle. But the interesting thing about this bottle was the contents of this stuff was legal, because Glenbrook was out of Maryland, and it was started by two guys, Grizzly and Grimfield, and they started it way back in 1905. And what they did was they made rye whiskey. What they did was they made rye whiskey, so that was a real pain for a lot of people, because rye, corn whiskey was a big deal, bourbon was a big thing, but they did pretty well. They went out of business in 1919, of course, of Prohibition, and scrap metal guys came and picked it up. They were just going to tear the building down and, use the copper. But all of a sudden, this guy Shapiro, who was one of the scrappers, told his buddy, hey, I think we could do better if we try to reopen this as a medical distillery, for medical purposes, and got a license, and that's what they did. And they went on to be one of the biggest distillers in the country, medical distillers. Glenbrook came back, and so this bottle was, again, if you look at the lip here, it probably had a no-fill cap just like that one, but it was if you look, you'll see there might have been a no-fill cap on this bottle too, but it's been pried off. And this bottle probably runs from 27 to maybe 30, the mid-30s, 34. You see the AMS, well, I thought it was a Canadian company, glass company. No, it's a drug company, the American Medical Supply Company from New York City, and that's the guys who were involved in distributing Glenbrook whiskey, which stood the test of time until 1934. So they survived as a spirits company during Prohibition, but as soon as Prohibition ended, they went out of business because their competition got them, you know. And I guess Glen Books was around for a long time. I've seen them, but it's a different company. I don't think it's the same. Good girl, good girl. Good girl, good girl. She's come to say hello. From there, let's run over here to the ones that I didn't get much information on. The hairdressing, the Polymol hairdressing. It's a popular bottle. People find it all the time. I'm not quite sure. It's a 20s bottle from the 1920s, and it's got a lot of wear to it. But it was a hairdressing bottle, probably not that very much collectible. This bottle here, cool bottle. Don't know anything about it. Look for an AFC company. Could not find any. Well, there's a lot of information. It's Anchor Hocking, so it's probably, I'd say 30s, late 30s, early 40s possibly. But chemical bottle, obviously. You know, who knows when in here peroxide, anything of that nature would have gone into this one. The next bottle here is this one. It's a real cool little pharmacy bottle, and it looks like John A. Shuley, druggist, and it says, I can read it. I don't know, in the back, Trent Hotel. So they were in the Trent Hotel, and they were telling you on their bottle that they were in the back of it. Cool bottle. I found no information on this guy. I have to go look deeper. I didn't really have much time, but there was hundreds of pharmacies in Trenton, and I have a lot of them. Yeah. You want love? You want excitement? Well, that's good, because I've got to. Let's stop a little bit here, and I got to get the other situations here are just the beer and sodas. That's what's left. And we have Crouch's. It's good. If it's Crouch's, it's good. You see what that says there? And it was a popular beverage bottle. They made all types of flavorings. They were in Asbury Park. It tells you this has a lot of case. We're a real bottle. I was going to give it to a friend of mine, but they didn't need it really. And it's 1924, so this bottle is 101 years old this year. So it's old. It's been around. Another competitor was Popka-Cola. It was a cola bottle and other things as Asbury Park. And they were not as popular, and they were later. They went all the way up into the 50s. I think both of them went up into the 50s. So, you know, neck and neck, they were. And the beer bottles, well, one here is the Munch, a beer company, breweries, and they were out of Brooklyn, New York. And one of the important things about this company is we're also looking at somebody who was able to finagle their way into getting a license to sell near beer. And they got near beer, and they were selling that all through the Depression and the Prohibition. And if you see there, you see the Owens glass, and you see a 0 with a little dot. That means it's either 1930 or 1940. I'm not quite sure. I think the dot would say it was 1940, and that's possible because, you know, this guy stayed out in business all the way up until 51. I doubt they had this bottle in 1951, but it's possible. So they were a big popular brewery, and they lasted a long time. They also had Hibbler. They bought out Hibbler and took over the Hibbler brewery. And this one, the information I had a long time ago, Josh Catelli. Well, Joe Catelli and his brother had a bottle company all the way up into the 40s in Kingston, New Jersey. But interesting story about this fellow here is he was running alcohol back in the 30s like they all did. Being an Italian, he probably had connection with the mob. And so he was making a liquor run to Trenton. And right outside of Kingston, right outside of Kingston, he got ambushed by bootleggers and he was killed. They shot him. And his brother went on to run the business successfully up until the 50s. And that's the story of him. A lot of these guys during the 20s ran liquor, and a lot of them didn't do too well as far as living through that generation. A lot of them got killed because of it, and mostly because of hijacking and that kind of thing. So that is my story, my sojourn in New Jersey. I'm going to go out in North Carolina again, South Carolina, look for stuff, and hope I see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye.